You know, with Tyson Fury himself, what is a typical interaction or typical day when you're there?
You know, he was just a character, and he was just brilliant. And then, bam, showtime training. He would train. Oh mate, his mindset was on point. And once that's done, bam, it's Tyson again. The dancing, singing, all the way back to his Ferrari, and off he goes.
Welcome back to the Windmill Boxing Team HQ. I'm Mo, your head coach. Remember, it's all about Mike, body and soul. Like the video and subscribe. Today's guest, right now, he's assistant trainer to Ben Davidson, previous trainer to Tyson Fury himself, and Billy Joe Saunders. The person he's working with right now, currently, is Josh Taylor.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Asgy. Call me Asgy. I'm into my boxing. I do a lot of coaching, professional and amateur. And for those that just need help or just want to do boxing, that's what I do.
So where are you based?
I'm based all over the country, to be fair. Full-time in Essex, in Harlow with Ben Davidson. Also, I've got a lot of professionals that I train in Birmingham and Walsall at the pound for pound. Then I go down to a place called Hena. Got Hannah Jones's gym, which is the Lion's Den. I train there. So I'm all over the place. Or if I need to be in Manchester, I'm at Ricky Hatton's gym. So all over the place.
So you don't stick to one location, you're flexible on location, yeah?
Yeah, because it all depends on the fighter, the camps, where you base. It could be based in a different country. It could be based in Vegas. It could be based in Spain. You don't know.
So let's just go straight into the deep end. Let's talk about the champion of the world, Tyson Fury. What's your experience with Tyson?
Oh, you know, emotional. That's the best way to describe it, because we knew Tyson before he was the Gypsy King. You know, this was Tyson Fury, the average kid that was just had a dream. We was just there during the good times, the bad times, the times in Germany, when he fought Wilder, when, you know, he lost everything. We was there throughout the journey. Unfortunately, after Vegas, when I read Al-Fatiha in front of millions, they banned me.
At USA?
Yeah, I got banned from America because of that, and I've not been with Tyson since, because all his fights are based in America. And I can't do nothing. So
when you said you go back with Tyson before he became the Gypsy King, before he became champion of the world, how early did you know Tyson, and what was the relationship like? How did you actually meet?
I met Tyson through Clifton Mitchell, my former amateur coach. Tyson used to come to the gym, spar a guy called Andy Ingram. So we all got to know this tall fella that wanted to be champion of the world. He already had it in him, he will be champion of the world. Did we believe him? At first, you know, no. But then when you see this guy move and train, and the way he was moving for a heavyweight, you was like, there is something special about this young man, you know what I mean? It was great.
And were you involved? Did he have an amateur career? Were you involved in that?
I wasn't involved in his amateur career. He was with Jimmy Egan, did very well on the nationals, and he was down to the selectors for the Olympics. A lot of politics pushed him aside. David Price got picked. So then he tried to go through the Irish board, but it didn't work out. So Mick Hennessy just says, look, now's the time to turn over. And he turned pro. His debut was in Nottingham. So we got to meet him.
And your personal interaction as a coach with him, what did you find was the most outstanding quality and one of the most annoying things about him?
His quality is his desire. If everyone is doing 10 press-ups, for example, he's doing 11. If someone's doing a mile, he's doing 2. He's got this mindset. The best example, I was playing Connect 4 and I beat him. He would not let me go until he beat me.
Okay.
And then it came to a stage where I had to let him beat me.
He was very competitive.
Unbelievably. But when it's time to work, he works. The mindset is, you can see a world champion when you straight away meet him, because I've seen it with Billy Joe, Josh Taylor, Tyson Fury. I've seen their mindset. It's all exactly the same.
You know, looking at especially heavyweight boxing, amongst all the greats that you know of, where do you rank him?
Tyson definitely top 3 of all time, without a doubt.
Who's number 1? It's
Muhammad Ali. There's no question. You know, and you've got to understand that the best years of Muhammad Ali was taken away from him. And you're thinking, and he still came back with all that pressure. And he was at a time where the country he was representing weren't even representing him. Imagine the struggle he had then. And he kept his deen inside him, and he spread the word, and he interacted with the non-Muslims, and those that were fighting him inside the ring and outside the ring. And to do what he did, and to be loved all over the world, mashallah, you've got to give this man all the du'as and all the praise possible, because without him, would we be here today?
Definitely. I think he inspired many, not just Muslim community, but generally
As a person.
underprivileged and underrepresented people. He's led the way for a lot of things.
It's like I said to Tyson, Muhammad Ali was blessed. Out of all the millions or billions of people in the world, why was he number one? Whereas you're number one now. So there's got to be a purpose. There's got to be a reason why you're here. And it's not because, you're a talented boxer. That talent has come from somewhere. So always remember, and we always say this before every fight. We make dua, we say, Ya Allah, give us the victory and we give you all the glory. Even Tyson says this. You look at all of his fights, we all get into a group and we say the same verse every time. Because we've got to remember our purpose.
Actual coaching pro boxers, we hear loads of terms like stable or camp. Can you break it down and tell the viewers what do you mean by a training camp? What do you mean by a stable of fighters? This sort of terminology that people probably are not acquainted to or don't understand, and they just go with the flow. For those people who are boxing fans but not diehard fans, who are not educated to that level, tell us what all this means. What is a camp? And
the science of it is simple. When you're ready to have a fight, as you know as a coach, you need to be ready. You need to be ready physically, mentally, even emotionally. So for the first week or so, it's just introduction, getting used to the muscles moving around. You're going to get all the aches. Then you've got to get the technical side, which takes a week or 2 weeks. Then you've got to get the sparring in. So when you say camp, it's like an 8 to 12 week time span. But what a lot of boxers who have been up there, they maintain that weight, they maintain that conditioning throughout their career because they believe in longevity. So rather than doing a 12-week, they can narrow it down to 6 to 8 weeks camp. So that's basically what camps are. Some people like to, go away to a warmer country or isolate themselves, or some people like to be around people. It's like the old myth of waking up early, going for a jog. It doesn't change whether you jog in the morning or you jog at the night. But it mentally prepares you because you believe, I've done what they're not doing. While they're sleeping, I'm awake, I'm running. And you overcome your fear. But I've got to say one thing, and forgive me for this, but when people say we're in training camp and they're fighting a journeyman or a white collar, I feel don't use that.
Using the term incorrectly, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word, yeah.
Sorry, over the years, I've seen world champions train in certain locations in the world. So which locations have you been to and which ones do you favour and why?
I've been to Cannes in France, Vegas, Big Bear, LA, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, Germany, you name it, I've been all over. Personally, I loved Ricky Hatton's camp in Manchester. That's just me personally. Vegas is different. It was great, to be fair. Vegas was good because whatever you wanted, you got. Everything was there for you. You're out the way. But for me, it was like hot. It's very, very hot. And in fact, I like Vegas. I can't even say anything. All camps are the same for me because your mindset's the same. You have your set role. You know what, you wake up, you prepare yourself, you go to the gym, you come back, you rest, make your phone calls, get your rest again, back out training. So you're training like 2 to 3 times a day. And before you know it, times are like boom.
What I noticed, if somebody's boxing, let's say somebody's boxing in the USA, they would predominantly normally have a camp in the USA. Is that to do with acclimatization or?
Absolutely. It's all to do with making it as more realistic as possible. For example, even timing, like some people like to train in the morning, but when do boxers ever fight in the morning? You've got to change or adjust the sparring to a more later time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's got to be real.
Yeah, so everything's preparation.
From an amateur boxer and a pro boxer, what's the main sort of differences that you notice?
Tempo. It's all about tempo and game plan. Whereas the amateurs are scoring. It's getting in there, bam, 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 out, being safe. And the ref will, you knock a head back, the ref will give you an 8 count. Whereas a pro, it's all about that. If your head gets knocked back, what reaction you give. If you don't react enough, they'll stop it. And it's all about pacing yourself, the 12 rounds. Whereas the amateurs, is 4 rounds, 3 to 4 rounds. So it's all to do with tempo.
If you had a a boxer who's just turned pro, where do they start? What advice would you give them from ticket sales to management? Because coaching and management are different, aren't they? Or they're the same thing?
Different. I do both, funny enough. See, when you manage, you've got to have your manager's cap on. As a coach, you've got to have a different style because you can't have a favorite boxer. Hence why I like to divide them and work on each boxer individually when it's their fight coming up. Before that, you get them all together, you keep them ticking over. And when you talk about ticket sales, it's very simple. All percentages, your manager gets 25%, trainer gets 10%. And people say, look, I want to negotiate. You only negotiate if you don't know your worth. But everything's, it's written down by the British board. Stick to the rules and everyone gets paid. But before you all get paid, you've got to make sure the commodity is ready to earn money. So you've got to invest all your time into the boxer. So it's very difficult. But I say to a boxer, if something don't seem right, it ain't right. But once you've signed, once you've got your team, trust in your team and appreciate your team. Even to the person that passes you a bottle of water or carries your bag, appreciate them. Because they're the ones that stand by when, the curtains are down and times are hard because it's a lonely sport, this game.
Let's talk about Billy Joe Saunders.
Oh, he's super talented.
That's what I was going to talk about. So you obviously have given him a lot of praise and so have other pundits, commentators. Tell us what one thing about Billy Joe Saunders or a couple of things about him that make him stand out so much.
First thing is his generosity. He's such a generous person to the poor, the ill, anybody that he feels or sees that are struggling. What he does for charities is unbelievable. What he does for single mothers, single parents or ill children, he don't ever show that on the media. He doesn't want to. He don't do this to say, look, get a camera rolling. But I've seen it firsthand. And it's so emotional to see what he does. Even to the kid that only had a week to live. He's got in contact, took him shopping, give whatever the kid wanted. Asked the mother, what does she want? And silly little things like the kid said, I would love for the Power Rangers to walk down this road together with me. And he'll get all these guys dressed up as Power Rangers and they're walking down. And I think the kid had a few days left. And he fought and he had a bit of a bad performance. But people didn't realize he had the kid there and he brought the kid into the ring. And he had that on his mind. And people don't see that side of him. Such a lovely person. That's him outside the ring. Inside the ring, he's the most talented, one of the greatest boxers I've ever seen in my life. He's that good. And one thing that's beautiful about Billy Joe, when he's sparring, he never, ever takes advantage of an opponent. He'll spar him, he'll show them skill, and he'll explain to him, look, this is why I got you. This is what you need to improve on. And I've got all the footages, and I don't just say, look, I own Billy Joe Saunders nothing, but I've got to speak the truth. A lovely, lovely guy inside the ring and outside the ring. It's unbelievable what he does.
He had quite a successful amateur career as well, didn't he?
Phenomenal amateur career, Olympian, got bronze in the Olympics. And at that time, he was very, very tough. Then he turned pro and he did everything the right way from, area title to the English, to the Commonwealth, to the British, to the European, to the international, to the world, 2 times, 2 weights. Pays off.
In the next 5 years, where do you see him?
I think in 5 years, the guys that he wants won't be around that long. Canelo will avoid him at all costs. Triple G will be gone. Andre's not on his level. Smith, he'll just get embarrassed because he doesn't like southpaws. Who else is there? This is hence why I like this Martin Murray fight, because Martin Murray and Billy Joe got some history. Martin Murray has had 3 attempts to win a world title, and this is his last chance. He's a Mancunian. Billy Joe's a London Southerner. It's something that I'm looking forward to, and I really, really, I think it's going to be a fireworks. It's going to be a good fight.
Okay, let's go and talk to something more currently. Taylor.
Josh Taylor, what a man. Oh, man. Unbelievable power. His boxing IQ is just unbelievable. And he just loves it. He just loves to fight.
He's natural.
He is. This is why I like Ben Davidson. He gets the best out of each. Look what he did with Tyson. Look what he's done with Billy Joe. Look what he's doing with Josh Taylor. Unbelievable. They say it's like a curry. There's always a curry, but it's a spice that makes a difference. Ben Davidson is that spicy. He really is that good. Really is.
You know, we talked about being a natural fighter, or I mentioned it. Can you be a natural champion, or is it something that has to be trained?
There's an argument for both, because you've got to have that heart. If you ain't got that heart where it gets to the nitty gritty and you've got to dig deep. If you haven't got that, you're going to quit all the time. Whereas if you've got a kid that, comes in, he's got that heart, he's got that fire. Our job as coaches is to develop that and to control it. Once you can, like Customato said about Tyson, once you control the flame, before it becomes a roaring flame, you can control it and just a piece of fire. And when it's time to be a roaring flame, and that's what coaching's about. So yes, it's about naturally gifted, but then again, you look at Thomas Hitman Hearns, very, very good amateur, but he wasn't a knockout artist. But then met Emmanuel Stewart, and then he was 20 fights, 20 knockouts, and he was a knockout specialist, the Hitman Hearns.
The beast, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a mixture of both. But me personally, I love to have that person with that heart. I like to see what they're about. Have they got what it takes? And that's what makes a difference.
Let's talk about you now. So coaching, where did you start your coaching career and why? Why boxing?
Well, I used to do taekwondo with a guy called Tony Sewell. And me and my mate Ali Rashid, Afsar Sharif, and my brother Asif, and my older brother Zaf, we used to do taekwondo as kids. I did very well. We won the British title numerous times and English titles. And it just wasn't, it was great because at that time you had your Van Dammes, your Jackie Chans, and that's kind of things we used to for Benny the Jet and all that. But people were into the boxing. And at that time, we had the Roy Jones. So I grew up watching Marvin Hagler. That's just me. But many years back then, because a lot of my mates were doing boxing, went down to boxing for the first time, and that was it. I was glued. I loved it. It was a challenge, and I was there every day, twice a day. I just loved it. But them days, we didn't get the guidance of amateur career, professional career. We had a few amateur fights, but we didn't understand the professional side because of the politics of the amateurs put us off the professional. So we got to a stage where I hit 20, settled down, got married, had kids, and it was too late. But I always coached boxing. And one of my first boxers I coached, Zaid Maqsood, won the nationals. And, I thought it was just a normal thing. But to win the nationals was a great thing. Then the second boxer I worked with was Poxton, what's her name? Sarah Poxton. She won the nationals and the Harrogate. But okay, that's good. That's 2 champions. And we had a third one, which was Alex Kupkovic. He got to the nationals first. He got to the finals. Then he won the finals. Then we had Latif Khan. Then we had Awais Ali. Then it just kept snowballing. And we was winning champion after champion and titles after titles.
And the name? What was the name of the
Prospects
club?
ABC.
And what's the history behind the name?
Prospects. Young kids, for me, it was the challenge. People that had no chance, had no hope, that was in our area, that people think, hey, in a boxer, come to me, let's develop you into a boxer. That was the challenge for me because I always loved video games, where you get to stages after stages. And I thought, right, everyone thinks this kid's crap. Come to me and I'll make you a champion. But what was brilliant, I know I'm not boasting, I'm just saying, every single boxer that's come to our club has won a title. We hold 100% record.
So what's the vision for the future?
The vision is boxing to continue it, to use what I think is a way forward in breaking down barriers, dealing with a lot of social issues, and it's to make a change. And I'll tell you the story. I don't know if it's a hadith or it's a story about the angel of death sent down to a village to destroy this village. Angel of death returned and said, look, I can't destroy this house because the man in there is so sincere. His family is so sincere. How can I do this? I want you to destroy that house because he chose to be ignorant to his neighbors. How was they to know they were sinning if they was never told? Does that make sense? So he was accountable. Hence why we're accountable. We will be questioned on the day of judgment. What did you do in your time? What answers can we give? So I think boxing's a way to, this is what I did. This is my intentions. To use boxing as a way of bringing us all together to keep us safe, away from the vices of drink, drugs, gun crime, gang crime, or whatever vices they're doing out there. And I believe boxing does work, and I've seen it work.
So right now, are you setting up a club in any particular area?
No, I want to open I want to be based in Derby. That's my hometown because Derby's got a lot of issues. And it's a true story, and I'll tell you this is heartbreaking. I was training this young Muslim girl, and every time she was a great girl, and she would come round and teach her boxing, and she was the first in, last out. And, when she used to go a step farther, used to pick her up and take her, whatever. And next thing, she's disappeared. Then obviously she's come back with social services and a lot of things, between her and some personal issues. And basically the boxing club had to stay open. She needed us. And obviously it's tough as a coach. We're not just boxing coaches. We're like
Everything.
Everything. And it's heartbreaking. But at that time, they told us they're closing that club down. And I went around all over Derby begging people, look, I can't obviously tell you about the situation because obviously data protection, personal issues, we can't talk about it. But I need this club. I need you to help me find a club. And, a lot of people have helped, Nash, from Gym City tried his best to help us and he did help us. Thanks for that. Peter Robertson. A lot of people tried their best. Even the pound for pound lads that came down, they tried their best. Everybody did their best to try and help. But it was the people of Derby that didn't really understand and they wouldn't. Because what happened was there was a centre and there was between two people. I can't mention the people because I don't want to put anyone down. But they said to me, we don't think you were serious enough. And I'm thinking, hold on, serious enough? One of the heavyweight champion of the world. I've been part of every belt there is in the world. I've been boxing since I was 15 years old. I'm 44. How much serious do you want me to be? But they gave the gym to somebody else. And they got caught growing cannabis and whatever, for their personal reason, I don't know. And I thought, what is it about our culture, our people? Who's it benefiting? It's benefiting them. And these business people, come on, if you can't understand that by investing into your community, one, it saves you from tax. Two, it's building a better future for you because if the community becomes a right, like a fire, whatever, people ain't going to come to invest in your community, so you're not going to have any business left. So you think long term. We have sisters that walk around. We want it to be a safe, teach people to respect and morals, and boxing's a way forward. And these people can't understand that. And, I can only pray for them. And one day someone may say, Asgy, you know what? Enough's enough. Let's hope. I'm not saying to people we need money. I'm just saying to people we need a place. Sport in England have said, you show us a contract, long-term place, long-term premises, we'll give you whatever you need. That's all we're after. But we just can't get a place. And I think it's going to result to us having to either buy a place or rent a place. We need high deposit. That I don't have. We don't make as much money as people think we make. Because obviously I've got to balance everything with the family life I live.
That's the other thing that is interesting. A lot of people see you on like a world stage and they think you're probably a millionaire. And they don't understand how much sacrifice a coach actually gives to a club, especially a head coach.
Well, let me give you an example of the sacrifice. For 8 years, you're talking 365 days in 1 year, times that by 8. Up and down, from Derby to Bolton. 8 years. 8 years, they're back. Nobody was paying us any money. Nobody was looking after us. This is a dedication we shared because it was never about the money, it was about the passion. Once we give our word, even as Muslims, we've got to dedicate, once you give your word, you got to honor it. And I believed in the long-term process. As long as I can learn as much, it's like going to university, I'll learn as much as I can. My purpose was to eventually open a gym in Derby and help the community. So if it took me 8 years to do that, so be it. And that's what I did do. Never missed a day, never let anybody, you ask anybody that I've worked with, even to Ben Davidson, they'll tell you, Asgy is almost, read Tyson's book. I think it's on page 112, 113, where he mentions, my guy Asgy is the most realistic, most reliable, on-point guy I've met. And, I feel, thank you, because that's what I've done.
So I've just obviously listened to the account there. For me, if I was making a decision to give you any support, let's say from a council, from a government, from a local partnership, whatever, for me, you're certified. Your credentials speaks louder than everything for me. So if the world champion can say that you're a reliable person, how much more certification do you need, really?
It's sad because it's just how hard it is. And it's like you're fighting a losing battle. We had one, if you go on YouTube, you'll see our club Prospects ABC. We was training in the snow, in the dark, no lighting, in the park, because I had so many kids I didn't want to let go, but the show had to go on. And it's actually on YouTube, you'll see it. We begged the council, with a lot of corruption going on, a lot of internal politics, and I was like, look, I don't understand this. What's so hard about getting a building?
What's the underlying reason that you're given every time you ask them?
That they give me?
Yeah. What is the reason they decline supporting
brilliant.
you?
I feel bad because I did this in an interview. It says, well, you're with so-and-so. You must have a lot of money.
Is that what it is? A pre-misconception?
Exactly. Speak to my accountant. Speak to anybody. Speak to the boxers. Ask them. They'll tell you how much I've made.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get to grasp in my mind, maybe I'm just stupid, I don't understand. Why does that have to be a criteria that you've got? That's your personal money.
Well,
let's say, for example, you had £1 million. That's your personal money. You're not asking for the council to give you something. You're asking the council to give that 14-year-old, that 12-year-old who's got no money, who's got a single parent, who's probably eating one meal a day, who's got mental health issues, who's got a physical disability, somebody that is a future of Derbyshire.
I'll tell you another story. This is a true story. There's one young man that used to come to my gym. He had Down syndrome. He'd come to him and the group, the alternative group they were called, and they would come to the gym and I'd train them all, teach them all boxing. And it was great because they always wanted to get into boxing. And I did a show, got them into a boxing show. And one of the young men, his father was part of the council. And I just couldn't understand why they wouldn't give me a place. So then I realized they would walk a mile from their center to my gym. So I asked someone to help me with transport. And thankfully then a guy called Connie, who owned the Bubble Inn, said, look, here's a minibus. It was like a 7-seater. It was enough for them. So I went to local businesses, look, we've got the minibus, we need insurance. 270 something quid. Nothing, not a penny. Weren't interested. And this was the guy's own son. And then, I tell you, it breaks my heart when I think about it. I spoke to one major business in Derby. They're based all over the UK. And I said to him, look, I need you to help me. And the guy goes to me, well, you're with so-and-so. You could get this, that, the other, and you could make loads of money. I said, well, funny enough, I did get loads of memorabilia, but I gave it to a charity called Muslim Hands, and they made tens of thousands. But my intention ain't for the club, it's for them. They needed it. They raised it. He goes, you never gave that money. That's my charity. And I was like, well, I did. I did give the stuff. I go, whatever memorabilia you needed, and I gave it to you. And because it's not, you don't give something in return. I don't do that. I do it because I want to help them. Someone needs help, I'll help them. All I'm saying to these people is, look, we need help. We need a place. If they can't think long term, then it's a losing battle. But I've still got to get on with what I do. I don't do, there's no profit in boxing. I don't make no profit. The reason I don't get a unit, if I get a unit which is like £500 to £1,000 a month rent, that reflects onto the people that come to the gym. I've got to then charge them. Now, yes, there's kids that have got wealthy families. What about the kids that don't have wealthy families? Am I supposed to neglect them? Then it brings that barrier up and that class thing. I'm not into that. That breaks it down. I'm saying to the council, give it where there's a donation box. So whoever comes and wants to donate, fair play. As long as the business is self-sustainable, happy days. My one-to-ones or my personal training, that's different. That's where I can make a living. But with the amateur club or the regular sessions, it has to be for the community, provided by the community, supported by the community. That's why I want to base myself in Derby, because I'm from Derby.
If we spoke in a year, how much progress do you think we would make?
I think I will make a change within months. I know I will. I've just got to, because I can't rely on anybody but myself.
Let's move on to something different now. In all your experiences in boxing, do you think it's the best sport in the world?
Yeah, boxing. But it's what you put in boxing. It's what you get out of boxing. Is it making a change? Because everybody goes with the phase. If you live in an area that's pure, everyone's football crazy, then they'll see that as the best. But it's what comes with it, the lifestyle, the sacrifices, and people meeting up, and I don't know. I just think boxing is great because boxing don't have a barrier. There's no race. There's no dividing colour. There's no nothing. If you're a good boxer, you're a good boxer. And that's how respect's earned. And it's not a case of oh, he's a champion, he gets all the praise. Listen, you give praise to the loser because every person that steps into the ring, you know they've got that heart and they've dedicated themselves.
I'm going to throw a curveball in there now. So basically, you're saying it's fair and it's open and there's no discrimination in boxing. Clearly, there's been a few fights we've seen where the scorecards are not reflective of the actual fight. Or certain boxers, for example, Billy Joe, the right people won't face him, they'll avoid him and duck him. Is that really fair?
Listen, you're never going to, nothing in this world's perfect. But if I beat somebody up and he's on the floor and I've basically battered him and they say he won out of, technicality or whatever, and morally I know I've won. And obviously, who's going to be, long term, who's going to be exposed as the bad person? Eventually, corruption will be it's there in every sport, at every level. But eventually, there's a saying, cream always rises to the top. That's what you got to remember. We can all plan to be corrupt, but who's the best plan of all plans? Allah, and that's it. All faith in Allah, and that's it. You'll never have a problem.
If you were at a table and you could choose, let's say, 3 guests, who would you pick and why?
Away from boxing or?
Just generally, who would you want to have at the table?
Prince Nassim was one person I would love to sit down and talk to because what he did, a lot of people ignored and missed and didn't understand the politics. When he was there and he in front of millions of the world and for him to lose to Brown the same night, people just remember that, but they didn't. I say to everybody, I don't want to say it too much because I want everybody to watch it. Go back to his fight with Barrow. Watch what he did before the fight, him and his brothers, and understand why the politics and why the hate kicked in, why he was banned from America. He's banned from America. So watch that video and you'll understand it without spoiling anything. Beautiful. He's one. I like spending time with my father, even he's still alive, but I love spending time with him. Just to hear his view on life, and brother Ramsey, my man Ramsey, who started the journey together with me. Funny guy. He's here in the studio. Funny guy. And Buster, if Buster's listening, how's your mate? You know who?
Women's boxing. What do you think of it?
Everybody is going to have an opinion, but I say for women to be boxing and be able to defend themselves, why not? I've got to be careful what I say because you've got to go by the rules of Islam, what we follow, and that comes before everything. Those that are doing it anyway, do I encourage it? Yeah, I'd rather the girls out there do something than nothing. What else have they got to do? Sports is a very, very good thing. Self-defense is a very, very good thing. With a lot of the high domestic violence, it's a good thing. And with what Muhammad Ali's daughter was doing, Layla Ali, she became world champion. You see Katie Taylor's, you've got your up and coming fighters. I think it's brilliant. I'm all for it personally. I manage a girl called Hannah Jones. I work with a girl called Ellis Hopkins, who will be world champion, no doubt. I think it's on a rise, but in this country we're just catching up. It's massive all over. You go to see what the Iranians are doing. You see what the Indian women boxers, the Pakistani women boxers. You see even to Kazakhstan women boxers. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, I think we have these conversations with all our guests, and the common theme is about you allow people to do something positive opposed to doing nothing at all. Because you gave the example earlier about the pious man in the house and the angel coming back and making a request that, look, there's a pious man there and maybe this village shouldn't be destroyed. And the order was, yes, that person's pious, but they're not doing any good for the community. So sitting there, being dormant is not really an option. And like you said, particularly in the minority communities, we need to do something about it. And it's on us. It's the responsibility is on us. The question's going to be asked, what have you done? And we should ask ourselves the question, what have I done for the community?
Someone said that to me. They go, it's a shame that you didn't make no money in your boxing when you were with all these world champions. And I was like, I don't think you seem to understand. They go, what do you mean? I go, look, Allah's going to ask me. On the day of judgment, someone's going to ask me and say, what did you do? And one of the things I'm going to say is, I read Al-Fatiha in Vegas when millions were unaware about Islam. millions across the world were unaware about Islam. Because of that moment, they heard it. Maybe if that was the reason I was there, center stages of boxing. So for me, that reward itself is worth more than money, because money is temporarily. Whereas we've got to think about when life actually starts after the day of judgment, we're going to be accountable for everything. And maybe that will take me further. Inshallah, you never know.
I'm going to ask you something slightly different now. What is your worst experience in boxing?
Training boxers to become very, very good, to use it for other means, to be the man on the street, to be a so-called whatever, to become a bully, to end up selling drugs, to end up going to jail, to be a horrible person to their family, to be a horrible role model. Like for a talented boxer to be inspired by, to be inspirational to so many, for them to then turn to the life of drugs, them to encourage the youngers to follow suit. Look, life's great selling drugs. Look, I've got a nice car. I know there's a lot of families that struggle, but you're gifted to be in that position to be a very talented boxer. Now, people think, you know what, it doesn't matter, but it does matter, because as quick as Allah elevates you, drop it like this. And, look at the wonders of the world, where the oppression of China, oppressing our people in Burma. And then what do they have? They have the flooding. See, Allah works in the best ways. And that's what people forget to understand. To the slightest bit from being an inspirational person, you was put in that position for a reason. That's what they've got to remember. Once you play devil to, you become a devil to your community, you'll be exposed, because you're accountable. Because if that one kid follows you, and then and someone else follows him, you've created a chain. Like they say when, for example, you get reward from feeding or helping somebody. Like you have an apple tree and someone who has an apple from there, you get that reward. Imagine the curse from you encouraging a kid to sell drugs, the curse from his mother, the other mother's mother, the kid's mother. Does that make sense?
With Tyson Fury himself, what is a typical interaction or typical day when you're there?
Okay, when I used to meet him, I would get there first, set everything up, and I'll put a bit of music on, something steady, and everything's quiet, everything's ready, clean, and then always hear someone singing and dancing all the way through the corridor, and bam, Tyson Fury was there. He'll be singing non-stop, dancing around. Ben will be trying to wrap him up and all that, and he was just a character, and he was just brilliant. And then, bam, showtime training. He would train. Oh mate, his mindset was on point. And once that's done, bam, it's Tyson again. The dancing, singing, all the way back to his Ferrari, and off he goes. But he was good, to take you for food, and he was a great guy. You know what? I had some great memories. But, things happen. I couldn't go to America. His fights were based in America. So I had to stay with Ben and do what we did. Funny guy, though. I'll tell you a story now. I said this to Tyson. When Tyson lost everything, everybody deserted. And I mean, every single person deserted him. I was on the phone to him every day, messaging him, meeting up with him, and he was a mess. And I used to pray for him. I said, Tyson, I pray for you. I says, you know what? I had a dream, Tyson. I go, you can be back. You're going to get back into shape. You're going to be worth over 30 million, and you have more kids, and you're going to be the world champion again. I've even got the message. I'll show you the message after, and he goes, yeah, I wish. Never happened. I said, it will. And he texts back, inshallah. He said, inshallah. And look what happened. I've got the text on my phone. Amazing, isn't it?
We're going to wrap up now. And what we do is we ask the guest to give the final words of wisdom, even though you've given us loads of gems there already. You've given us plenty, and I thank you for that. And I really appreciate you coming on. I want you to look at the viewers and give them the final words of wisdom.
A lot of things we fear. Fear death. We fear losing things. We fear not providing for our families. But that takes us out of the fold of Islam in a way where we think we're better than the best planner. And that's Allah, because our rizq is written. The food that we want is already provided. And one thing that's certain is death. So don't stress about things that are going to happen. Be accountable for the things that you've got time to do. Say to yourself, you know, today I'm going to do this because Islam tells me to do this. Or I'm going to do this because it's going to help a lot of people. Do things which are positive. And whatever's negative, don't try and get rid of it because it's there. Try and turn that negativity into positivity. That's just what I can say. And there's always someone that can help in one way or another. And if there is nobody that can help you and you feel you've got nobody else, always look up.